Hello, guys. Thank you very much for joining in. We're going to be starting out with this chapter, sustainability, the second chapter from your SCR exam. Okay, I'll also be running a PPT along with it, and I'll walk you through the entire chapter. There are a lot of content in this chapter. Even though the chapter seems smaller, there's a lot of important part in this chapter which I'll be highlighting, and I'll also Simon parallelly walk you through the GARP book to help you understand what all things we have covered. Now, the chapter primarily starts with the first learning objective, which gives you the idea that what exactly is sustainability. So let us start the same in our discussion forum. Okay, introduction to sustainability. Introduction to sustainability. And when you talk about sustainability, there is one broader statement that is used in the book also, which I'll be highlighting. And they talk about that sustainability is a combination of three important subparts. The first is environmental, social, and economic. Majority of the time, we talk only about environmental, but in reality, when we talk about sustainability, it should be for all three: environmental, social, and economic. Let us go into the deep dive of each one of them. Okay, what exactly is environmental? Okay, environmental sustainability means whatever we do as a business, as a country, as a individual, we have to always make sure that there is ecological integrity and biodiversity in the environment where we stay. We should not take steps which will hamper the environment around us, and always try to ensure that the balance of the natural system is not disturbed. Okay, the moment we start cutting trees, okay, moment we start doing excessive fishing, it all leads to the change in the balance of the natural system, which can impact us also. So natural resources, whatever we are going to consume, it should be consumed in such a way that we give the time to nature to grow. Okay, so the what consumption rate should not be higher than the rate at which it can be replenished. At a broader level, whenever we talk about sustainability, we have to focus on the environmental side of it. The next is the social sustainability. You can always think about this as people. Okay, people perspective. Now, social sustainability means whenever you do business, whenever you do activity like companies, corporate, or government also, we have to think how we are going to impact people. Okay, so do we provide minimum standard of living for the people? Okay, are we making sure that there is health and safety for people? There is engagement of different types of community, especially the community which is most vulnerable, say tribals and poor communities. Okay, are they getting the opportunity to get included in the development process? Okay, are we making sure that there is fair labor policy? That means there is no child labor in our companies, in our offices. Okay, we are making sure that employees are getting compensated well. Okay, so always put people first. That is what you have to think when we hear about social sustainability. Okay, and at a broader level, when we talk about social sustainability, equality, diversity, and inclusion. This is an important word: equality, diversity, and inclusion. Always put the people first. That is what social sustainability means. The third window is the economic sustainability, that whatever we do, okay, we are there to generate profit also, because without profit, we will not be able to sustain for a longer period of time. And that is a core part of the capitalism that we follow. So, economic sustainability ideally means that whatever we do, we have to make sure that there is long-term economic development of the company and the nation. So keeping in mind both the environmental and the social aspect, we have to drive profit. So there, it is all about balancing the economic growth and profit along with the environmental and the social people aspect of it. Or in a simple language, you can also think of this, that whatever economic profit that we are going to generate, it should be made available to the environmental part and the social part also, so that there is good amount of prosperity in the world. So these are the three broader areas which are covered in the sustainability aspect. Okay, I'm just summarizing it again. So sustainability, this is an important line. I'm marking it star. It is also there in your GAR book, the first 3-4 lines, that at a broad level, when we talk about sustainability, okay, it includes these three things: But when we talk about the statement that whatever we are doing, we have to make sure that we are meeting the current needs, but not making the future people on this planet overburdened. That means all the resources are utilized by us and there is nothing left for the future. So that is a very, very important statement that you should remember for the exam, marking it as star. And if you open up the book also, it is there in the first three line itself. Okay, so let us go to this section. A quick summary. So environmental means maintaining ecological integrity, biodiversity, and the balance in the nature. Social diversity means making sure that there is minimum standard of living for people and human rights are also protected. Then economic sustainability, which means economic profits and economic system should be made available to everybody so that everybody can prosper. Okay, so this is the broad introduction of sustainability. Okay, now we are going to move into sustainable development. Okay, so if you open up the book, okay, they have at a broader level, they've tried to cover sustainability over here. And from here, they have moved towards sustainability development. Okay, and in which they also cover the CSR activity, which are done by the companies. There is a lot of unnecessary information which is not needed for the exam perspective. And that is why CSR is also covered in our PPT. So sustainability development, whenever we talk about it, so ultimately the impact is same. Whatever development that we are doing, we have to make sure that we are able to meet the current need, but not overburdening in the future. That means we are making sure that the things are available for the future generation. So without compromising the ability of the future generation to meet their own need. This is again an important point. Coming back to the main line of sustainability. CSR, a lot of companies, they do CSR activity. Okay, CSR over here means corporate social responsibility. Right now, government also have put rules in place that certain percentage of your profit should go into CSR. So there is a lot of pressure, not only from the government, but also from the uh, shareholders, your customers perspective, where you have to do engagement with them. So shareholder engagement is very, very important. But you right now, companies also want to engage their customers. So they cannot lie. So they have to do their responsibility as a company because they're using the resources which are there on this planet to grow. So this is what is being covered in the book also with respect to the sustainable development. Now in the book, they have given you few bifurcations. Okay, the first thing that they talked about is the importance of sustainability. So right now, the government, international organization, individuals, corporate, everybody should focus on sustainability. Okay, internationally, when we talk about UN has come out with sustainability development goal, which is also going to come in the further part of the chapter, which is a guiding principle for all the countries, for all the corporates, how they should look at the activity. Okay, what should be their criteria for development? So this is the first important section, that is importance of sustainability. Then they have also talked about sustainability in consumption, corporate and investing. All three of them is also a part of the diagram, which I'm going to be talking in some time. So sustainability in consumption. Okay. So when we talk about sustainability right now, what consumers are becoming more and more aware. So they are avoiding dairy products, meat products, because they know there can be some environmental damage. So any product which impacts environmental things, it is impacting the consumer from the moral and ethical standpoint. And hence the sustainability is also important now from the consumption perspective. So a consumer is also asking for sustainable products. So if you read the sustainability when making moral and ethical choices, okay, meat and dairy products for environmental reasons, you are eliminating it. That is one example of sustainability in your consumption. So, for example, the shoes, the leather shoes that you're wearing, it is impacting environment in some way, so you're not going to wear it. All of that. Recycling of material is also covered over there. Sustainability by corporates. So corporates, they try to make sure that they create policies and strategies in such a way that whenever they enter into new projects, new businesses, they maintain their entire supply chain from where the product is going to get sourced till the end consumer. They want to make sure that they have minimum to minimum damage to the environment, social and all, right? So they follow an environmental, social and the government governance norm. A lot of companies, they follow the ESG criterias. And at the corporate level also, a lot of companies are now eliminating things which are not coming in the purview of sustainability. One of the good example of that would be forced labor. Okay, so if I am giving some work to my vendor, I will make sure that vendor also follows the ESG norms, or vendor also follows the sustainability requirement. So this is all coming from the Paris Agreement, which the countries have signed, in which they have agreed to reduce their emission level. And when we talk about emission level, climate is only a part of it, but at a broader level, the companies are now more and more focused towards sustainable development. Next part is sustainability in investing and finance. So ESG primarily comes into this. So as an investor, if I want to invest into a particular company, a lot of mutual funds, a lot of fund houses, they now look into this. And what they do is when they look at investments, they look at the ESG score of the company. Because if the company does not do good in the environmental, social, and the governance aspect, we will not invest. And that is what gradually is going to also happen when lending is going to happen to companies. So their investing and lending activities will be directed by the ESG framework. Okay. Also, it is going to push a lot of companies to have sustainable products. So green bonds, where they're only investing into projects which are green in nature, or primarily which helps environment benefit. So such kind of financial products are also going to be more coming in the future. Also, a lot of investment community, a lot of finance people, a lot of banks, they are now aligning their goals to the sustainability goals which are given by the UN. I'll take a quick pause over here and I will just go to the book. Okay, so the framework, the ESG, sustainability, and climate part. Oh, sorry. We have covered till this section. We've covered till this part, the Paris Agreement reference, the elimination of meat and dairy products from their usage. So the section that I was talking about, the sustainability in the consumption, in investment, and all of that is being given in this part. Okay. And there is all of these will come as we move toward the further diagram. There's one diagram in the book which is going to be covering the connection between the climate and the sustainability, climate risk and sustainability. Let us take a quick pause and do some quick question on the concepts, or till the point, till this first learning objective completion. We're going to be solving few questions. Sarah is an investor who wants to invest into a company that is committed to sustainability. She is reviewing a company's ESG performance, and she sees that the social metrics are very low. Which of the following is an example of low social metrics? They have a diverse board of directors. This is a good metric. They have safe and healthy. This is a good one. Accused of human. This is my answer. My answer is going to be C. Accused of human right violation in supply chain. Human right violation over here means forced labor. Okay. So that is why the answer has to be C. Let us move forward. There's one more question. You are a sustainability consultant working for a corporation. Company wants to implement a sustainability policy, but not sure which framework to follow. The CEO has asked for your recommendation. Which of the following is most widely accepted definition of sustainability development? They are focusing on the definition of sustainability development. Okay. Development that meets the need of the present without compromising the ability of the future generation. This is the answer, because this was the first line of the book also, of the chapter. Development that balance economic, social concern differently. This is wrong. It has to be equally. We have to focus on equal fronts, economic, social, and environment. So this is wrong. Development that promotes economic growth at the expense of natural environment, straight away wrong. Development that prioritizes social and justice. Justice was never a part of the sustainability section. So your answer is A. That is what we have covered. One more question. A multinational corporation has been accused of unethical and unsustainable practices in its supply chain. Okay. The corporate claims to have a sustainability policy. Okay. What other commitments should the corporation have in place to demonstrate the sustainability? So they are facing sustainability concerns in supply chain. If you read this section, okay, see, commitment to promote economic growth at the expense, this is straight away wrong. Reduce biodiversity is also wrong. You have to improve biodiversity. Prioritize social and justice is also wrong. The answer is this, because the forced labor part is explained from the supply chain perspective? So answer is B. Let us move towards the second learning objective from where we're going to be starting from here, the ESG, sustainability, and the climate risk part. First, we are focusing on ESG. Then we'll move towards how sustainability and climate risk are connected. So let us look at the ESG reference. Now, ESG over here stands for your environment, social, and governance perspective. Now, a lot of these financial institutions, a lot of these investing companies, they look at these things or these factors in deciding how I should be investing into companies. Okay, so what is this ESG in detail? The first parameter, okay, environmental criterias, where the company's relationship with the climate change or nature. How much serious is a company in making sure that they are emitting less and less carbon dioxide in the environment, or not wasting river water, not polluting river water, not leading to deforest, a lot, not impacting the forest land. So basically, not impacting the environment. So we will be giving score to companies on the basis of how much they're impacting the environment. The next factor is going to be social. This is more of people perspective, where they're going to be looking at how companies treat their employees and what has been the overall way through which company interact with the other stakeholders. It can be suppliers, community, and all of them. Okay, social is also an important criteria over here, but the new one is the governance part. Now, why governance is important? Because in the history we have seen a lot of the companies are failing because of the very bad governance. The CEO is taking random decisions. There is nobody to ask questions to him. Okay, the board is controlled by the chairman and the CEO of the company. All of that, there is no risk management being taken care of. So governance has to be also very good for companies. Then only I'll be investing my money. So, and that is why we look at what is the board composition, who is sitting in the board, how many independent directors are sitting there. Okay, how much compensation I'm giving to the senior executives. Okay, are they getting excessive amount of money? Who is managing the risk management? What is the risk management structure within the organization? Internal processes also are very important, whether the company has checks and balances or not. So all of this comprises to governance. So companies, investing parties, they want to make sure that we interact with firms or companies who are following the ESG norms. That is why ESG is very influential. Right now, a lot of companies focus on ESG. Okay, there are ESG scores which are made available so that you can rank the companies also. So ESG information is sometimes disclosed by the company, or there might be some vendor, okay, who might collect the data and pass it on to investors. Investors over here means the asset management company, investment management companies, funds, insurance, who have a lot of money, who will invest into the market. So they will look at this data provided by the vendor and also the data provided by the companies. And based on that, they will take a decision whether the company follows ESG norms or not. Okay. So one of the important purpose, this is an important line, one of the important purpose of ESG is that it helps you to screen. Screen means you screening companies over here means I will take a decision, okay, and I will exclude certain companies which do not follow ESG norms, and I will include certain companies which are following ESG investment norms. Okay, so screening over here means either excluding or including companies. Okay, so you can have a negative screening also over here, which means excluding, and positive screening means I will only go and look at companies who follow the norms. Also, right now, banks, insurance, and investors, everybody is looking at the firm level policy, ESG policy. Okay, ESG policy over here, the companies, when they are operating, the way they have the risk policy, okay, their internal procedures, they also need to have the invest ESG policies in which they are, if I'm a bank, so I will all integrate my lending decision, my underwriting decision, investment practice decision, everything. So banks are also doing it, insurance companies are also doing it. Okay, the investing community, the investment management companies, mutual fund, they also have the ESG policy that they are going to follow and do the investing. At the country level, okay, investors are concerned about the sovereign bond portfolios because these are the government bonds which are held by the investor. So they will also try to understand how much the country is serious with respect to the environmental part. So based on that, the countries might also get a rating, and hence we decide how much good this investment would be. So whenever a sovereign bond portfolio is you are holding a sovereign bond portfolio, if there is a country which is not doing good in terms of the environment, social, or say governance perspective, or primarily there is some issue with respect to climate risk, you will not bring that asset into your portfolio. Okay, so that is what is happening at the investing level. Now, how government how government are looking at this. So when we talk about government, government rarely uses the term ESG. Okay, they don't use the word ESG, they use sustainable development, which is a broader term. Okay, so that is why the government policies that document, they explicitly use the terms sustainable development, because they don't only want to focus on climate, they don't only want to focus on governance, they also want to focus on every other aspect, environmental, social, economic aspect also. Okay, so when we talk about the ESG relationship to government policy, it is very one-sided. Over here, one-sided means government explicitly don't focus on only environmental, social, and governance aspect. They have broader goals. They want to make sure that everything is sustainable, and they follow the UN development goals, which we're going to be covering in some time. Corporations set corporate level climate goals, but they can be motivated by bottom up consumer pressure also. Now, what does this mean? Over here, this was covered from the GARP book also, that a lot of time companies are proactive in deciding that, okay, I will not have forced labor in my entire supply chain from where the product is getting sourced, or I will do some CSR activity, I will invest some money, or I will help people to get trained, I will do environmental development activities, or I'll plant trees, for example. This is done most of the time from the company's perspective, they are initiating. But there can also be another angle to it, that consumers are now putting pressure that I will not buy your product because your product is harming the environment. That is why you must have seen companies, say, for example, there is a coffee company which says that my coffee beans are produced in a sustainable manner. Okay, and it is coming if in from the locations where there is no environmental damage being done. So the last point primarily tries to tell that, tells you that the consumers or the government, they are also forcing companies to enter and do things which are sustainable. Okay, now next part, I'm just taking a pause before we go over here, and we have covered all of this, and this is the ESG reference point. Okay, now as we move ahead, we talked about the ESG criteria, okay, the environmental, social, governance aspect of it. Okay, and this is the general commentary that I was talking about, how ESG is looked upon from the bank, insurance, and investors perspective, how ESG is focused from the data collection perspective. There are vendors who get the scoring and the data. We talked about that also. Then government is also very serious when they are doing this. ESG screening is also talked about. So certain types of products are excluded. I've talked about that also. Non-financial companies, they also use the term ESG at the country level. We are talking about the sovereign bond portfolio. We talked about that. Then there is one point which is, they've given you an example of MSCI ESG data provider, which gives you a country level ESG rating. Okay, and that rating can be used by investors, okay, to help them understand whether the country is following a sustainable development or not, okay, whether they have a social policy or not. Okay, also the climate related discussion is being discussed over here. The E over here is only focusing on the climate part. Okay, and when we talk about climate change at a broader level, it is climate risk, okay, which is sometimes a part of the ESG framework, because ESG also has an environment component to it. Then we also talked about government, that government policies explicitly don't talk about ESG, they have their own approach section. And then there is a bottom up pressure from the customer. We talked about that also. Next part, we're going to be moving toward the sustainable development goals aspect. Okay, but before we go to that sustainable development, I would like you to see the diagram. And this diagram is important. Why? Because see, there are two circles that I have highlighted. The first is the sustainability part, And this next is the climate change part. Okay, so important thing to understand over here is that climate change is cross-cutting. So from the diagram also, okay, climate change, there's some component of climate change which is there, which matches with sustainability, but there's some component which does not covers the sustainability. Okay, so if you read the first line over here, what they're saying is climate change is a cross-cutting concept, but it does not fully falls into the sustainability window. Okay. Now, within the sustainability window, we can see sustainable business practices, sustainable investing, sustainable development, sustainable consumption. We have already talked about all of these points. So sustainability has these four important parameters: business practice, investments, development, and consumption, right? And ESG somewhat falls in the investing overview. So it is over here. Okay, so it is in the investing perspective where the investors, bank, insurance companies, they look into that. Okay, and if you look at the climate risk management, climate policies, corporate climate goals. Okay, corporate climate goals are under the business practices. Okay, sustainable business practices. Okay, and this is just going to give you overview that how things are connected. Okay, climate policy, which is over here, fall under sustainable development, but government policies are not typically in terms of ESG. This was also the previous point where we said that government does not talk in terms of ESG. Okay, and financial institutions, they talk from that perspective. So that has also been covered over here. Also look at this, the climate finance part, it primarily falls within the ESG framework. Okay, climate finance and climate risk management, somewhat it falls within the ESG framework. So I'm marking this diagram as star. At an overall level, you should know that the climate change is a cross-cutting component from the sustainability part. Also within sustainability, there are four major sections: sustainability, business practice, your investors in insurance and all. Then you have development and consumption. Okay, and climate finance, climate risk management falls under ESG, which is generally broadly at ESG, which is under the sustainable investing part. So that is what you have to remember from the exam perspective. This diagram is here in your book. Okay, so you can read this section, and also you can read this part. I have tried to cover this in the PPT also. So with this, we have completed this section. Let us quickly go and do the questions to help you understand the concept much better. A government is developing policies to reduce the impact of climate change. Which of the following statement is most accurate regarding the relationship between ESG and government policy? Okay, ESG is exclusively used by government to refer their own policy. Wrong. Climate change is considered a part of ESG. Climate change, but sustainable development is not. This is correct. Because if I go to the previous diagram, sustainable development is different. Okay, sustainable development is over here and ESG is over here, right? So that is why the question comes into picture. This is most likely correct answer. We'll go to the next part. ESG is used by non-financial corporation to communicate performance to shareholders. No, then it is used by the financial institution. ESG metrics are used by government to evaluate. No, it is not used by government. A government is not using ESG, it is using sustainable development. So answer has to be B. Answer has to be B, right? Next question. A country is seeking to improve its ESG rating in order to attract more investment. It has a history of prioritizing economic growth. Economic growth over sustainable and social concern. What step the country might take to improve its ESG rating? So prioritize economic growth even more in order to generate revenue from social and environmental activity. If you want to improve your ESG rating, it does not mean that you have to generate revenue for social and environmental. That is wrong. That will not help you to increase your ESG rating. Implement strict environmental and social regulation, even if the economy slows down. See, this improving your ESG rating does not mean that the country should not progress. That is also a wrong point. Publicize positive social and economic initiatives already in place while continuing to prioritize economic growth. This seems to be correct because our focus is on both social, environmental, and economic growth. Do nothing and wait for the investor. Wrong. So answer has to be C. This is just a variety of question that could help you to understand concept. What is the primary purpose of using the ESG score and metrics by financial firms? Okay, to provide government with standardized ESG rating for policy action. Wrong. Okay, to help non-financial corporation communicate with sustainability effort to shareholders and lenders. This could be a point. To restrict or exclude certain type of clients, certain types of client from the investment practice. Okay, this could also be point. So we'll go back and check the 1 and 2nd, A and B. To encourage corporation to have corporate level. No, this is not the purpose of ESG, to restrict and exclude certain types of client or project from investment practice. So financial firms, when they are lending money, they will make sure that they don't invest into. So negative screening could be one point where they can focus on. Okay, so the answer has to be B for this.